Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for joining me today in the Locher Room. I'm Alan Locher. Murray Bartlett was born and raised in Perth, Australia, and moved to the United States in 2000. Shortly after his arrival, he scored a part on the hit HBO series Sex and the City. In March of 2007, we all know that Murray joined the cast of Guiding Light as Cyrus Foley, a master conman, and he remained in Springfield until the show went off the air in September of 2009. Shortly after Guiding Light went off the air, Murray landed the role of Dom Basaluzzo on HBO's Looking and the role of Michael Mouse Tolliver on the Netflix revival of Tales in the City. Murray's latest project, the limited HBO Max series, The White Lotus, premiered Sunday night. If you haven't checked it out, I encourage everybody to do so. Murray is fantastic, and the cast that check into The White Lotus are something else. Please welcome back to the Locher Room, my friend, Murray Bartlett. Hello, my friend.
Hey, Alan.
I really loved it. Ray and I watched it, I think, Monday night, and I didn't know what to expect. I know because I've heard you talk about it, and sort of a dark comedy, but what a cast and what a location to shoot in.
Yeah. I mean, an incredible group of people, and we shot the show in the middle of the pandemic, so it was very surreal for all of us. We're all in our respective COVID pods, and we get this call to go and work on this amazing job with this incredible group of people in Hawaii. So it was not something that I felt comfortable talking to a lot of people about, because it just seemed so unfair that we were, in this amazing place doing this wonderful thing, having been kind of locked down with everybody else. Having said that, though, it was an intense, rigmarole to go through to get there or get tested, and then we were obviously, quarantined, and then we lived and worked in this resort in Hawaii. We weren't allowed to leave the boundaries of the resort that we were in. We were tested every other day, so it was a very bizarre and wonderful experience. But like shooting during COVID was a crazy operation.
But it's I can't think of the word, but they, the fact that they were taking such precautions is a great thing, to make sure nobody got sick and all of that is a great thing. For those who haven't seen it yet, how would you describe The White Lotus?
Well, it's written, directed, created by Mike White. He has done many things. One of the things that I came to know him for was an incredible HBO show called Enlightened. And if you're familiar with Enlightened, you get a sort of a sense of what this show, the tone of this show. He's, The White Lotus is, I would say, social satire. It's very funny, but it's very dark, which is what Enlightened was. And it's, I don't know, I think the way that Mike White views the world is pretty singular. He has such a sharp eye for observing human behavior, human nature, and he reflects it back to us in a way that's very funny, but also pretty uncomfortable. I feel it's confronting, because it makes you look at some of our behaviors, and some of it's pretty ugly. And that's on show in this show, in the White.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's a lot of, in that first episode, Connie Britton and Steve Zahn, that scene with them, you didn't even know what was happening in that scene.
Yeah.
And then with you and your colleague who works with you, hysterical.
Yeah. For people who haven't seen anything about it, it's like, it's set in this resort in a tropical location, which happens to be Hawaii, and it's about a group of guests that come for a week to stay in this resort, and the impact that they have on the people around them, and the kind of like social structure that is set up around, so these sort of privileged people being at the top of that structure, and how that kind of impacts everybody around it.
It trickles down completely.
Or doesn't. Yeah. Trickles down, as we're led to believe that trickling down does.
So Mike White was attached. So when you heard about this, were you, intrigued to, or you wanted to say yes, but tell me what happened when you read the script for the first time and your character Armond.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just to back up just a little bit, HBO asked Mike White if he had anything in the pandemic. This was in August. He wrote something, and we were shooting by October. So he wrote it in a couple of months, which is astounding when you see the show, because the scripts were incredible and complicated and just amazing. So it was written specifically for a COVID situation. And I, it's an odd time to audition. There wasn't a lot of work around. I didn't think I was going to be working for a long time. So this was such an amazing surprise. But, I got the audition. There was no face-to-face contact, obviously, at that time. So I self-taped one audition. It went off and they liked it. And I had a short meeting with Mike, and then I was on a plane to Hawaii. And I am such a fan of Mike that I read the first script, and it's so amazing. And this is such a great character that I get to play. So,
he really is, because he interacts with everybody.
What's that?
He interacts with everybody.
Yeah. I'm the resort manager, and so I'm sort of the ringleader in some ways. And it's an absolute it's an ensemble show, and it's all these sort of interweaving stories that kind of duck and bob around each other. But I am the lucky one who gets to be part of everybody else's stories, and especially with a cast like this, it was so fun because I get to play with all these amazing people. It was really great.
And you're not kidding, amazing people. Did you watch the first episode?
I did. Well, we had one of the first sort of in-person premiere things in LA last week. And I had watched it before, but I'd watched a rough cut, and we had it sort of projected up on a screen at this little sort of get together that we had. So I got to watch it again, which was great actually, because it was fully finished, and the show looks beautiful. They've done such an amazing job with it. It's beautifully edited, and the music's incredible. So it was really sort of thrilling to see it up on the big screen and see how all of that stuff that, like the way that the show's colored and the way that it's shot and everything, when it's on a big screen, you get to really see it much sort of clearer. So that was really exciting.
And what was it like getting together for the first time, since the pandemic, not having to be tested before you, got to see everybody?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
For the premiere?
Yeah. They took a lot of precautions because it was the first one, and they wanted to,
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it was, it was such a incredible experience to go through with a group of people. It really bonded us. We were the resort that we were in was empty for the first chunk of shooting, so it was just us there. We were all out of COVID, suddenly in a group of people. And so all of us felt so sort of thankful to be there in the midst of a pandemic, just all the sort of the circumstances of that show and that shoot. So coming back together was lovely because we had this very intense bonding. We also went through the election together. We shot through that period, and
oh wow,
it was a lot. It's like you have this very sort of formative experience with a group of people. So whenever you come back together, you're like, yeah, we did that.
I was just gonna say, it's almost like camp.
It really was. Yeah.
Getting back together. Yeah. Everybody who, and I mean, some of the co-stars, Jennifer Coolidge, Connie Britton, Steve Zahn, Molly Shannon. I should know the pregnant lady. I don't know what the actress's name.
Oh, yeah.
She's fantastic.
Yeah. No, really, through and through. And it's one of those shows, I mean, it's written for a great ensemble, and they got a great ensemble. So it's one of those shows that, there are all these different stories that sort of interconnect and cross over each other. So you jump from one to the other. But my experience watching the show, I've watched rough versions of the whole 6 episodes, but my experience was you like leave one story and you're like, oh, I don't want to leave that story. But then you come to the other story and you're like, oh my God, great, we get to connect to that story. You know, like there's no weak link in the cast or in the storylines. Like it's very engaging, and it keeps you, it really keeps you on your toes. But it's also just, it's thrilling to see this, like, you know, amazing group of actors just kind of shining in this show. You know, everyone's so good. I think it's, and I feel like part of that comes from, well, mostly it comes from Mike White's brilliance as a writer and a director. Like we're just, you know, we're carried by this great thing, but it's also because we were so overjoyed to be there in the midst of a pandemic. Right. So we all felt so kind of thankful and happy.
Flexing your creativity again after not being able to for so long, and being around other people. I mean, all of it.
All that, and also just that it was, you know, Mike White creates this incredible feeling of play on set. So you just feel so, it's fun, you know, and he says that, and he said that in the beginning of the show, is like, you know, one of his primary aims for doing this kind of stuff is like for everyone to have fun, you know, and it shows. Everyone did have fun, and so you're on set, and it's just, you feel like you can take risks and have fun.
It sounds like every project you take should be like that. I mean, that, you know, that's a way to do it. And I'm really amazed at that story that he was asked, do you have anything? And boom, churned out 6 episodes. You know,
that's a genius mind, right?
Yeah, that really is, to do that, because it's not a story about 2 people. Like you said, it's an ensemble. So he's weaving all of this complicated stuff, you know, in between for 6 episodes.
Plus, it's dealing in such a smart way a bunch of really like intense themes that are very pertinent to what's going on, you know, with us in our societies, about privilege and about societal structure and about toxic masculinity, and like, you know, I mean, you know, valuing some people above other people, like, and you know, how race plays into that, and how that kind of affects, you know, indigenous culture. I mean, there's so many things that are woven into it in a way, I think, brilliantly, that doesn't bang you over the head. It's just, but it's really in your face. And the fact that he was able to do all this in, you know, a couple of months is just, it, you know, it speaks to who he is.
Applause for him. I can't wait to see the rest. So everybody, every Sunday night, 9 o'clock on HBO Max, check it out. Hey, Murray, I know you live up in Provincetown now. To you, what makes Provincetown so magical?
I mean, so many things. It's so beautiful here. Like you know, the Cape is so spectacular, I think. And I'd only been up here in summers in previous years, but the last couple of years, you know, been spending a lot more time up here. And the off season, the winter and the fall is just so magnificent. And you know, it's been I mean, it's got a rich history of Fisher people and a rich indigenous history, which I'm just starting to to learn about. And also a history of, you know, artists who have always come here. And you can see why, because there is something, they talk about the light here. There's something very unique about it. I don't know whether it's because we're surrounded by water or what it is, but it's really magical. And it's also, you know, I wanted to be spending more time in a place like this, or in nature for quite a while. But to find a place that has a really sort of vibrant community, a very kind of open-minded community, you know, is really wonderful. And so I had thought of trying to spend a bit more time back in Australia, just because that feels like my home. Always, I guess it always will. But then we started to spend a bit more time here, and I feel like a sense of home here in similar ways to I do in parts of Australia, I guess.
I was going to ask, is Perth, is there any similarity to Perth?
There actually isn't in terms of the weather or the physicality, really. I mean, I grew up in coastal places, so I really relate to that. No, it's very different, but there's something about the vibe here that reminds me of places back home. And I can't really even describe it, but it's something that it's sort of a home feeling.
Okay. That piece of art behind you, is it from Provincetown?
I don't know.
Because
it's my friend's piece of art, so I can't read the history of it. I wish I could.
Well, because I know, that there's such an artist community up there.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, for me, I don't really think I had any, but I'm curious, any gay role models for you growing up?
Any what, sorry?
Gay role models?
The thing that springs to mind, when I was very young, I saw Rudolf Nureyev, the famous ballet dancer, who is like, a lot of people of my age would know him. And, I must have been 5 or 6, and I was mesmerized by him, how creative he was, how amazing, like, he moved. And I had no idea that he was a gay man, but I remember being struck by this incredibly creative sort of force that he was. So I wonder whether that really sticks.
Yeah. Right? But I love that you have a memory of that. Was it a live thing or on television?
And I remember it really clearly, but I also remember it because my mom always refers to it. She was like, you were just sort of fixated on this, like how, and then, she took me to a ballet, and, because it really kind of made an impact on me, which is so
That's wild.
exciting. And I don't know whether it had anything to do with him being gay, but he was, and he had this incredible creativity. So maybe it was a mixture of all those things.
Well, for sure. And you're growing a garden up there, right? What are you?
A vegetable garden.
Vegetable garden. What do you got?
We've got eggplant, beets, which I tried to grow last year and they were a disaster. And this year they're amazing. So I'm very proud of them.
Have you done a beet soup?
No, I like to roast beets, and I put them in juices. We have a lot of Swiss chard because that did incredibly well last year. So I put in more of that this year, and because you can keep taking off the outer leaves, and it just like keeps producing. It's amazing. And same with kale. I have kale, green peppers, zucchinis. Wow. I had like massive, anyway. Zucchini,
wow, that's
cucumbers, arugula. Yeah, I think that's about it.
I love it. Hey, Candace was asking, one of our fans was asking, what did you learn about yourself during the pandemic that took you by surprise?
I think I feel like this happened to a lot of people. It made me ask big questions about my life and what I'm doing with my time and who I am as a person. Am I being kind and compassionate enough? And what it made me ask myself what's really important, and that was really helpful. It made me reassess some of the relationships in my life. It made me ask, am I doing the work that I want to do? What more could I be doing? That's more that's could be fulfilling. It was such a wild and crazy time and really difficult for so many people. And I feel like though one of the great things for all of us was to take a pause and really sort of focus on what's important to all of us. what's essential in our lives, and how can we value that.
It really is. I mean, think back of the year everybody had. It's just, I mean, I don't think any of us could have ever thought what happened in that past year and a half could have happened.
Yeah, it really
Truly.
and it makes you really value the loved ones in your life, and whatever support structure you have, and
it makes you realize you picked right if you are with someone and you're home, you did okay, you did well.
Yeah.
Because it's a tough thing to go through alone or with anybody. I mean, a family, I think of all the people we know with kids, what a time. So we, in the intro, I talked about Dom on Looking and Mouse in Tales of the City, two iconic gay roles. I mean, representation is so important in the gay community. Did that affect how you played those roles in any way?
I mean, I guess I feel like it can be tricky to try and have that as an intention, because it can feel general when you're playing something, but it's definitely something that's in your consciousness. When it feels like a sort of a responsibility in some ways, and you want to it's a tricky thing with a show that's trying to reach or represent an underrepresented community, because you want everyone to be satisfied and you want everyone to be represented in that community, and it's an almost impossible task. So you hopefully have great writers, which we did, and you try and make it as truthful and honest as possible, and try and do justice to the character and the character within the community that you're representing. And that's all you can do, and then you hope that people will respond. But yeah, I mean, that's why the show was made to be representative of
right.
an underrepresented community, and it was made to show honestly what the lives of these people are, who I'm talking about Looking and also Tales of the City, but that was the whole intention behind it. So then when it gets down to the specifics of playing the character, you just want to do justice to that part of it. But that was built into the whole intention of creating that show.
Yeah. Looking back, I mean, you have, time away from Looking. What's the impact that show had on you? Now that you've had time away from it.
I mean, on a personal level, it was transformative, because it was such a joyful show to be part of. I loved the people I was working with. I made lifelong friends with them. Well, I don't know, but they've lasted so far. So,
well, Jonathan just got an Emmy nomination for Hamilton.
Exactly, so great. But yeah, no, it was sort of a revelation in a way to all of us, I think, on that show, that you could do a show that you loved so much and we really believed in what we were trying to do with that show. And that you could have so much fun and just like love it so much. I mean, it was really, it was an extraordinary show in that way. But on a sort of bigger picture level, we still get responses from, one of the amazing things about TV, I think, TV and film, but being on a platform like HBO that reaches countries where you can't be, there are queer people who can't live freely, and the responses that we've had from people who have reached out and said that that it's like made them feel less alone and made them feel a sense of hope and possibility, and we had many messages like that. So being aware that that show has had that sort of, you know, ripple effect in that way is so satisfying and gratifying, and you know,
I bet, especially living as we are able to freely.
Yeah.
Did you ever anticipate that show when you were doing it, any of you, it would have that kind of impact, and or that you would, you know, I'm sure each of you are a role model to someone who watched that in all parts of the world?
I mean, you know, we all really believed in the show and what we were trying to do. I don't know that we knew how it would all play out. So, you know, it was, I guess it's always surprising when you get messages from people who are, you know, heartfelt messages from people in places in the world where they can't be freely who they are, or it might be dangerous to be freely who they are. You're never prepared for that, really, and it's very emotional, and it makes it feel like it's worthwhile, even if it's for just that one person who's sending you that message, you know.
Well, I completely agree. I mean, if you change one person's life, it's that impact really can last forever. Like, I mean, even just what you were talking about, Rudolph, you know, like, look how long ago that impact was.
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah,
you know, there are things that impact us in life, and you know, positively and negatively, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah.
When you hear the name Guiding Light, what does that bring back for you?
I mean, I love that group, and it was, you know, it was super fun. I remember like being there right at the end of Guiding Light, being out on locations with like, you know, handheld cameras and like sort of blowing the structure of that show apart, which I know some people responded to and some people didn't, but you know, we were really trying to make it work, and yeah, I had a great time on that show. It was a really I learned a lot. I learned a lot about, you know, because it goes so fast. You work so fast, and I learned a lot about trying not to be precious about my work and just like have a good time and like let it go. And you know, had great. I think maybe we talked about this last time. Like Beth Ehlers was always such a great sort of mentor for me in that stuff of just like, just have fun, man. Let it go. Like, you know, just. She is so awesome. I mean, yeah, you know, there's a lot of
and you know, and Tongue from Marge to say.
Oh my God,
fans still bring that up.
So many great characters, like on screen and off screen in that show. Right? It was a big family in a way. It was great.
It's crazy. What do you remember most about Marge?
I think you've hit on it. No, I don't know. She had such a kind of a mischievous sort of spark in her eye, don't you think? Like she had this like incredible grace and poise that she would sort of glide around, I felt. And then she'd sort of look at you out of the corner of her eye like this naughty little 5-year-old, you know. She was awesome. Such a great combination of that, like, you know, grace and poise and like childlike energy.
It's crazy. Sad that she's no longer with us. Who were some of your acting role models growing up?
Acting role models, boy. I was always a fan from a young age, or youngish age, of Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, you know, I'm not that much younger than him, probably. I don't know, but he's probably about 10 years older than me. Maybe. I don't know. He started working young. I started seeing him, and
I would think he's at least. I think he's older than me, and I'm probably close to 10 from you, I think, but I don't know.
Anyway,
yeah.
But I remember seeing him in My Beautiful Laundrette. I don't know whether you saw him in that.
I didn't in that.
It was one of the first films he did. He's amazing. God, I'm blanking now. I remember seeing, there was this incredible indie theater near where I grew up. And I remember going and seeing, in my teens, going and seeing a Pedro Almodovar film with very young Antonio Banderas in it. That blew my mind. I was really lucky in that way. That cinema just like was incredible. They played like French films. Like there was a film about the Bronte sisters that had like all these now incredibly famous French actresses in it. So I really got exposed to like incredible sort of not mainstream like content like through that cinema. So yeah, I can't think of anybody else, but that sort of sticks out that and my mom was so encouraging of me to like go and see stuff, and she loved that I wanted to be an actor, and so she was incredibly supportive in that. But I used to go to that cinema by myself, you know, like, and I'm not always, but like I was so into it. Just like
I didn't do that often, but like I know one film that I did was strictly Ballroom, which I just loved. Loved. But you know, I think when you go by yourself too, they're bound to have a large impact on you.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I know you have another project, but I don't think you can talk about it, right?
I think I can now. I think it's out in the open.
Oh, great!
Just released a thing. I mean, it's it's a new HBO limited series called The Last of Us, and it's an adaptation of a video game, and it's the team that did Chernobyl. This amazing.
I loved Chernobyl.
I absolutely love, and yeah, I'm really, really excited.
Did you know the game?
I'm not a gamer.
Yeah, me neither. me neither.
I've since researched it, and like I'm now, but yeah, and I apparently it's a super like popular like.
Well, games are games are that's awesome. I was thinking while we were talking, we need to get you on stage in P-Town. You need to.
I don't know, maybe.
I mean, that's what's so great about P-Town, all the different shows and theaters that they do. Thank you so much for being here. I want to take a quick photo of us, so smile, because I'm going to put this up. It's always great to see you, my friend. Thanks for spending a little time. Everybody, check out every Sunday night for the next 5 weeks to catch a new episode at 9 p.m. Eastern of The White Lotus. Murray, enjoy the weekend, my friend.
You too. Thanks, Alan.
Okay, bye. Good to see you.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, everybody. But before I go, as some of you watching may have heard, we lost a very dear colleague on Guiding Light's anniversary on June 30th. One of the show's producers, David Brandon, passed away suddenly. A scholarship fund has been created in David's honor. After Guiding Light, David went back for a master's in education and was teaching high school in Syracuse, New York. He was also working with the high school theater group directing shows, and he loved his job so much, and his students loved him, just as everyone at Guiding Light loved him. He was affectionately known to his students as Uncle DB, aka the David Brandon. I just wanted to mention this here, just in case any of our devoted Guiding Light fans had a few extra dollars and wanted to donate to David's scholarship fund. I will put up the address, and just want to say thanks for watching and have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.